How's it going, everyone? Mad Spartan here, and today I'm bringing you a really exciting video for you guys. It took me a little bit to set it up so that it's kind of watchable, but it is going to be the 10 characters that I would really want to see in Marvel Rivals, just with the art style and everything. I think it would be really cool to have them. Now, some people on this list are not so well known, but I think that's a really cool thing that Marvel Rivals does, where they put characters like Adam Warlock, Jeff the Landshark, Cloak and Dagger, and even Squirrel Girl, characters that aren't super mainstream and super well known. They throw them in here, like Luna Snow maybe, to see how well they're doing, kind of promote these kind of newer characters that aren't so well known, like Magneto or like Captain America and Doctor Strange and stuff. So I kind of based my list off that, where a couple of them are kind of out there, and a couple of them are, a little bit more possible, I guess. So we're going to go to the list in a second, but I hope to see you guys there. Okay, so for number 10, or I guess number 1, depending on how you look at it, it's going to be Titania. None of these characters are in a specific order or anything like that, just kind of first ones that came to mind. I kind of put them on a list, and I tried to make it only 10 because there was a ton of characters that came to mind that I wanted, but we wanted to cut it down to 10. Now, for those of you that watch my Contest of Champions, you know Titania is going to be on here. I think she would be a really great addition to it. I think she'd be a little bit like a Hulk, where she would have high mobility, but in the same sense, she'd probably have like a ton of defense and all that. So we're going to go down here just to kind of see what her abilities are about. And you can see superhuman strength, stamina, durability, and she has kind of a healing factor, which is very cool. So I feel like she would be an extremely good Vanguard for people to have. Not so much like a team ability, where like how Doctor Strange has a shield, or Hulk can bubble his team. I think she'd be more on the selfish side, but I think she would be really, really good at what she does. Where kind of like jumping around the map and having pretty good stats. Now, this character is actually pretty interesting. She has kind of a huge lore about herself. She actually has one where she lifted a hammer that was made by Serpent, and she became Manbreaker, which is very cool. I would like to see that maybe in an ultimate, where she would kind of pick up the hammer and kind of start using it, or even just use it as a basic ability where she kind of just uses the hammer and she's able to, do increased damage and stuff, and then eventually she puts the hammer away and kind of just keeps using her hands and legs. So I do think there's a lot of potential for this character. We'll go back so we can kind of go back to her stuff. I do think there's a lot of potential for this character. This character has done a ton of stuff. She's been in almost every single villain group. She's in a relationship with Absorbing Man. She's gotten down gamma monsters by herself, so she is extremely strong. So I do think she is a good addition for it. She's not well known, but she's kind of well known a little bit. If you watch the She-Hulk show, which was horrible, do not watch that show. But I do think she would be a great addition for it. So we're going to go to the next one. Okay, so next up is going to be Sandman at number 9 or 2, however you want to look at it, which ironically, Sandman and one other character, probably 2, 3, depending on how you look at it. And also, based off, after I did this list, I kind of realized certain characters that I wanted in Rivals more than others, and Sandman has always been on that list. I do think he is amazing to have. If we had a Sinister Six chapter, I do think Sandman would be fantastic for something like that. So we're going to go down here to kind of his abilities. He has done a multitude of things. He also has a huge lore, a huge lore. So he's basically, he's immortal. Basically, he literally has immortality. He cannot age. He doesn't need anything, any food, water, or anything like that. He has full control of the sand of his body. And as you can see, depending on if you've watched any of the Spider-Man movies with him in it, he gets really, really huge. So I do see an ultimate where he literally gets huge, kind of like when Mr. Fantastic gets big in his mode, but instead, obviously, on a much grander scale. And it would be like an ultimate where he gets huge, he kind of just slams people down, and it'll do insane knockback and stuff. I think it would be insane to have this character in here. He would have insane mobility, because you would obviously have to have an ability where his bottom is sand and he can kind of just go around the walls and the map and stuff. And also he can get really big, absorb bullets. He'll take reduced damage, because I heard that in the leaks of Things abilities, he actually takes reduced damage. So I do think that would be something that they would have to throw right on Sandman's alley. I do think he needs something like that because I think there's so much to this character that would be amazing. Shape-shifting alone would increase. You would have a defensive shapeshift. You would have an offensive shapeshift. His ultimate, he'd get all big. He could put it right on the point, and it would just be an amazing character to have. Now, next up is going to be Kraven the Hunter, which I actually just watched the show, so I'm a little biased. I actually was making this list as I was watching it. I do think that Kraven would be a very good option for something like this. He's gone toe-to-toe with Spider-Man a few times, or even is a comic book where he literally kills him. And he also takes on Deadpool with the Venom symbiote, with no guns, by the way. He's just going straight hands with these guys, and he's like putting these guys down, which I do think is an amazing flex to have. There's times where he kills Spider-Man over here, and I do think he would be really cool. I see abilities for him. He could be a strategist, which totally misspelled that. We'll go back to that. He could be a strategist depending on his utility. I can't see him healing at all, but I can see like traps and maybe ways to boost his allies with attack or shield and stuff. But I mean, you would have to just straight up write an ability for him to heal them. Other than that, though, I do think he leans way more towards Duelist. I see an ability because flying characters are annoying as hell. If you don't have, you have to switch to them. You literally have to switch to counter certain flying characters depending on what Duelist you use. So I do think Kraven would be really cool to have because I feel like his kit would be made towards pretty much everyone. He would have his own abilities to take out people that are on the ground, and I would love to see an ability where he throws like a web or something like that, and if he hits the people in the air that are flying, they just come down to the ground basically, which I do think would be a really cool ability for a Duelist to have. I think if he had that ability alone, he would soar towards the tier list. I think just that ability alone to be able to lock down flying characters and keep them grounded, it would be insane. You would have to force people to switch, and assuming that his abilities are pretty balanced, you wouldn't have to switch to him either. You could literally just be a Kraven main and use a bunch of people and counter every single person in the game, which I would love to have. Now, his abilities are pretty similar to kind of Titania's a little bit. He has superhuman strength, speed, stamina, and all that. Obviously, Titania's a little bit better than he is, but his senses are also a lot better. So he would have probably similar to like what like Spidey has with his spider sense, which I think would be a really cool thing to add into the game. Just being aware of like what's around him and stuff. Maybe some type of like echolocation where you can kind of see people through walls for a little bit. It could even be something as simple as like pressing E, and for 10 seconds you could just see through walls. So I do think he would be a really cool character. I know a lot of people, he wasn't on their radar, but I do think with his keen senses and his trapping ability, I think he'd be able to lock down most of the characters in the game. This is one of the characters that I actually was really, really, really excited to see. Armor, one of my favorite characters in the X-Men comics. I know she's not very like big and all that, but her ability is broken. It's literally just like a thing of like armor of energy that goes around her. She has went toe-to-toe with some of the craziest people, and she's just a kid. And she's beating these people to a pulp. She is literally in like a battle royale scene, which I think was called on Break World. And it was like her and like 31 other people. And this girl beat the hell out of all of them. I think she is extremely underrated. And if you want to learn more about her, read any of the comics. I was kind of reading more of what's it called, like House of M and all that. She is a monster, this girl. Like, absolutely love this character. Superhuman strength, superhuman durability, invulnerability. She has concussive blast from her armor, so she would have an ability while she's in her armor form to have a ranged ability, kind of like the clap from the Hulk. And of course, her exoskeleton armor. I think she would be a fantastic Vanguard to have, and I would love to see her. If she was in the game, I would have to completely throw away any character I'm using and use her on Vanguard. Okay, so next is a pretty interesting pick, and I couldn't really put him anywhere specifically. I do think Howard the Duck would be a really cool character to have in the game. I just think as like a joke character, I think he would be fantastic. Now, the cool thing with Howard the Duck is he can kind of be any form. I think that's a big thing about that. My first immediate thought, of course, was Contest of Champions, him and his big like suit thing here. He could obviously be a Vanguard with that. You could keep him in this form, and he could have just a big like a big minigun and just be a duelist and with a really, really weird hitbox. You can make him a support character and he'll have like gag gifts, I guess. Like he kind of throws them on the ground. It could be like a joke character to the point where literally he can throw anything out of his bag and it either heals you or it could boost you in 3 different ways. And he could be complete chance. Not meant to. I don't think he's anywhere near to be a competitive character, depending on the role that they put him. I feel like if he was duelist or maybe even Vanguard, he could have some potential. But if you want to go like the full like joke route, I do think support is the way for him, and it could literally just be like a full game of chance on how he's going to support his team. So I couldn't really figure out a role for him, so I just kind of put anything. Literally, it depends on what they want to do. And yeah, there's not really much to say on him. He doesn't really have that many. He doesn't really have abilities like that. But I do think he could strive in any position. Next up is Norman Osborn or Green Goblin, and it looks like here currently he's actually Gold Goblin. So I would love to see that skin in the game. I do think that would be like insane to have in the game. I would spend any amount of money for something like that. Now, most of you know who that is. Just Green Goblin. Major villain of Spider-Man's superhuman strength, speed, stamina, durability, regeneration factor. He's got agility and he's got insane reflexes. Most of the time he is on his board here. So obviously when you make the character, he is going to be a flying character. Now, a lot of people say they want him on Duelist. I am a major advocate for him to be on Strategist. I do think he would strive a lot more on there. I totally have this vision in my head of like him having orange pumpkin bombs and him having green pumpkin bombs, and one heals and one does damage, and he would be a flying support character, which I think would be insane to have, because if I remember correctly, I don't think any of them have like flying characters. I know that like you could jump really high with Rocket Raccoon and kind of glide, but other than that, I don't think any of them fly unless I'm like completely drawing a blank here. So I do think he would be a really good addition to the strategist class, or you can just, you know, have the same ability where he would be a duelist and he'd be a flying character. He would have ways to kind of like throw bombs and stuff. I do like an ability where he kind of like swoops down and kidnaps someone so that it kind of forces them out of position. I do think he would be pretty cool with an ability like that. All right, we're getting close to the end here. Next up is going to be Spot, who I actually first discovered in the Miles Morales movie. A very cool villain, and then also I think he also came out in Contest of Champions, so that's kind of where I learned him too. His abilities, pretty simple, if you can't really kind of figure it out. Portal creation, he kind of has portals all over his body, he kind of throws them down, he's able to use those. So I do see like a really, really aggressive duelist, where he is constantly in your face. Yeah, he'll have portals set up all over the map. You'd have to destroy them or something like that. Literally, he would have like, it would be like his E ability or his right click, something even easier to get to. Literally, put a portal and then put another portal. He'll jump in, come out on the other side, basically telling you how to teleport. But I do think he has the ability to be all over the map. We're talking like setting it up behind a push, doing damage, and then immediately jumping back into your portal to your backline to get healed. I think he would be an absolute menace on the field, and I do think he would add kind of a level to the game where you got to know like map layout to a T. You got to know specific character matchups. You got to know how to like kind of hit and run with him. I do think the skill ceiling will be very high for someone like Spot, but I do like his abilities, and I would love to kind of get a crack at it. Fortunately, with my current team comp, I can't run Duelist, but if I was able to, I would definitely run to Spot if he's in the game. Next up is Nimrod, which is a character that I actually kind of recently found in like X-Men Blue, Red, Gold comics. Very cool. For those of you who don't know, highly advanced sentient sentinel. He's just kind of, he's definitely a menace. And this version isn't Earth 616. He's 811. I couldn't find an Earth 6161. I don't know, maybe 616. I don't think it exists, I guess, because it says here he hails from the dark future named Days of Future Past. And I don't think Days of Future Past happens in Earth 616, so maybe that's why. This version specifically, as I was reading, actually merged with Master Mold. So he's actually an absolute menace. He's got a crap ton of abilities, as you can see on the power grid, very high. Self-repair, superhuman strength, superhuman durability, shape-shifting, adaptation, energy projection. He's got force fields, acoustic kinesis, gravity manipulation, phasing, immunity, shockwave, teleportation. He literally has it all. All different ways to take out mutants. If you guys kind of couldn't figure that out, He's still a Sentinel, so he has a ton of abilities specifically made for Sentinels. So I do think he would be a great attribute. Now, my friends and I used to be talking about like Sentinel. The reason why I put Nimrod slash Sentinel is because I think you can kind of go either way with them. If you want a little bit more identity, I do think Nimrod is the way to go. He'll have actual voice lines and he'll like be like an actual character with lore. If you wanted to kind of go a more like simpler route with the same effect, you just go Sentinel. Very Sentinel. Very simple. Not really much to it. Big robot. He'll be able to fly around with the jets and stuff. But I do think there's more to work with Nimrod specifically. As you can see, there's a ton of them. Abilities are pretty straightforward, but I would definitely be leaning more towards Nimrod just because it would kind of add more of a face to the character. I want him so bad in this game. Now, my friends used to talk about it where would they do extra damage to mutants? I don't think it would go that route. I think it would just be more of like a general, like, this character does this, 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 and this. It wouldn't be like a does this but bonus damage to mutant characters. Because if you did that, I think it would add a level to the game that there isn't enough characters in it yet to do something like that, where if the meta is mutant, then you would just run Nimrod, and then you would have to completely redo your team comp. But there isn't enough characters in the game to do something like that right now. So maybe like way down the line, you could start adding like tags and like types to characters, where like you would have Wakandan and you would have Mutant, you would have Avengers. Like you could do something like that, but I don't think we should be doing that at all, to be honest with you. So I think if you're going to come out with someone like Nimrod or Sentinel, specifically hard counters for types of characters, I do think you want to kind of stay within the realm of Rivals, where they just have a ton of abilities and you just work with that. Okay, so getting close to the end here, we do have Kingpin, who I do think immediately Vanguard. Very cool character, has like went toe to toe with Spider-Man and beat the hell out of him. For those of you that don't know, Spider-Man is insanely overpowered. So for someone to just kind of like get their hands on him and beat the hell out of him would be insane. He has ruled almost every single character, like every single villain. He has ruled the Sinister Six at one point. Like, this guy has basically done it all when it comes to villains. Every villain knows him. They don't mess with him. I do think he is ridiculous. Peak human strength, master martial artist, criminal genius, indomitable will, and multilingual, which wouldn't really help in that game. But indomitable will basically gives him, in essence, psychic shielding, in the sense that he's not able to be like hypnotized and all that. So I do think he would have some crazy like energy resistance type of thing in Rivals. I do think you can like use that and walk with that. But at the very least, he's going to be insanely big. He's going to have insane defense, and I do think he's going to be using the cane for attack with the ability to kind of like, he'll have like activate it and he'll be able to use it as a laser. So he'll have like a ranged ability, which would be chef's kiss if they add that to this character. I do like this a lot. I do want him. You know, I know a lot of people want like Daredevil and stuff. So why not do like a Hell's Kitchen extension? Hell's Kitchen, you could put Daredevil, you could put Elektra, you could put Kingpin, and you could put like one other, you put like Tombstone, you could put like any other character, and then that would be the 4 characters that you run with on that season. So I do think he would be insane to have. I would love to see him like with his belly bump. The insane cosmetics they would give this character, the different colored suits, would be fantastic. And last but not least, Shuma Gorath, which I'm sure a lot of you don't know who that is, but it gave me the idea when I was thinking of the last possible person, someone that is going to make you click off this video and be like, who the hell was that person? But that would be a really good idea, type of thing. That's the situation I wanted for you guys. So now, he is actually a big character in Marvel vs. Capcom 3. He actually trained Dormammu. He's extremely evil. He literally created a version of himself, and he can't even kill it. That's how strong this guy is, which, see, like, that's kind of like a paradox in its own. If you create something that is so strong that not even you can kill it, does that mean you're strong, or does that mean that you're weak? You know what I mean? That's weird. He's actually part of the Great Old Ones, which are like these big monsters that used to like rule the galaxy, basically. He is insane. He's basically unkillable. He has every ability in the world. And look at these stats. I mean, obviously these are Marvel wiki stats, but I mean, look at these stats. He's insane. He's got virtual omnipotence, magic energy manipulation, invulnerability, regeneration, telepathy, energy projection, shape alteration, size alteration, superhuman strength. And the crazy thing about it is, I would love to see this man be a support character. He knows everything there is to know about magic. I would love to see him be like an insane magic person that could also be like classified as a DPS. If he's support, I can use him because I pretty much just only use support at this point. I think he would be an amazing ability. I think the what's it called? I think the dialogue between him and like Doctor Strange would be fantastic. I would love to have this guy in the game. Like I would give anything to have this guy in the game. I think he would be an amazing addition. He'd be weird looking. He'd be running around. He would look like this. He would look like this. Let's show you a better a picture of this guy. Look at this weirdo. Look at this weirdo. He would be amazing to have. I would love to have this guy in the game. And that's pretty much all I'm going to leave it on. He would be an amazing support, and I wouldn't want anyone else. But yes, I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you liked the list, that's cool. If you didn't like it, that sucks too. But if you have any ideas for who you think should be in the game, please let me know. I would love to have like a conversation about something like this. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you all in the next one.